whether they have psychology background or not, they are able to understand. And since you already are working in this particular area, I don't think any of you would have any problems. I'm not going to be using any theories right now. Maybe in the next session that I have related to therapies, maybe there some technical information would be there, but in today's session, I'm sure there wouldn't be anything extraordinary that you will not be able to understand. I don't think you would have that problem.
Great. So
Thank you.
since our 5-minute window is over, I think let us start, and few more will join. I know for sure.
Right.
So today, friends, is the fifth pit stop or milestone what we have of this program. So we have already gone through understanding of health and the wellness model, mind-body connect. We have gone through. Also, the natural laws of wellness, where Raman was here, and we went through various assessments, what can help in client identification as well. And today, we have Professor Dr. Harpreet Bhatia. She is a professor of psychology with the very renowned University of Delhi. And Professor Bhatia, the floor is yours.
Thank you
the
so
subject
much.
is, of course, very interesting, the wellness coaching skills. So it's on the coaching skills.
Yeah, counseling skills we are going to be
Counseling and
discussing
coaching.
today. Yeah, right. So for sharing, I just need to share screen, right?
Yes.
No? Let
Yes.
me start with that. Okay, are you able to see my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So if I put it on full screen, you should be able to see the full aspect. Yeah. Okay. So like we said that we are going to start with the counseling relationship. And counseling relationship, I don't think it's anything new to any one of you, because whether you are doing a formal counseling or a therapeutic setting, or you are interacting with them as a life coach, the relationship with your client is a very, very important step. So basically, I will be discussing about that. So I don't know how much of it will be new information for you, but wherever you find that there is difficulty in understanding whatever I'm saying, please stop me there itself. So usually all learning is what we need to do, but I'm going to start with what we should not be doing. So this is a video which I've taken from YouTube. I hope you're able to, it's a little longish video. It's about 24 minutes. If you feel that it's getting too long, you can stop me. But it would be great if you see it till the end, because the end is quite interesting.
Remind us.
No, I have water
Oh,
here too.
okay.
Yeah, so we can both drink our waters. Yeah. So, you have a good day today?
I love work. It was great. It was just, I'm just the buzz still from the project meeting.
Good, good.
It's a really
Yeah.
exciting project, and I can really relate to it. Can I tell you what it is? The project?
Yeah, what is it?
It's a video game, non-violent, which I'm so glad, because I hate work. I hate it if I have to manage a team of those. And it's for autistic kids for word understanding and I think a word now. A comprehension of words and understanding, so that the kid. I know autistic kids have a really hard time word association when they take things so literally. Trying to cross that bridge with visual words and an actual game, which I think will really be great for autistic kids.
Yeah, that sounds pretty interesting.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
we have this pretty excited team today about that. So.
Yes, you had a busy day at work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So all the aspects of project management, it keeps me going. I love it. I just love it. There's never a dull. moment. I have a good team, good people.
Well, why, since you like your job so much, I don't understand why you'd ever get depressed. I mean, it seems like you could just go to work and feel so much better.
Well, I do at work.
Yeah.
Well, at work, it's because home is so depressing compared to work, I guess. I can't stay at work all day.
Well, maybe you could work a little more.
I already do 50 hours.
50?
Yeah,
I
pretty much.
guess that is a lot.
It's quite a bit. My marriage isn't holding out too well with that. Even, I mean, it's not doing so well as it is because I'm gone so much and pretty much 10 hours a day. I mean, I leave at 7. I'm lucky. Sometimes I bring home. Try not to.
Yeah, that's a long day.
It's a long day. It's always in my head. But, I just feel my life is just so black and white. I mean, and my persona at work, I wish I could be who I am at work. I mean, it stays with me afterwards. It's kind of like this adrenaline and this high and this.
Yeah, you seem like a really happy right now. When I'm talking,
Yeah.
you seem really happy. So
Well,
it's
yeah.
actually hard for me to believe that you get depressed.
Maybe it's my depression's coming in because I get off on people, so I can kind of like lean. And I get excited, kind of hyped up for I come to therapy too.
Okay.
I get kind of excited. I don't know what that is, but
The therapy.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's. And I'm not at home. I mean, look at this place. It's beautiful. And
Yeah.
going home, I go in the door, and it's comforting to me, but nobody else. And
Yeah.
that's where I'm being crucified right now. Is at home. And
Yeah. I just had some lunch before we met. I think I've got something in my teeth. So excuse me a second, because I hate it when I have stuff in my teeth because I don't want you looking at that.
oh, I wouldn't. I mean,
Yeah. I know.
I probably wouldn't tell you if I saw something. So I can never do that. When somebody has a big thing.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Maybe I have one.
Do you want one of these?
Okay.
Yeah, you're welcome to try
thanks.
one. They're
Yeah, I
great.
like this. This is fun.
Yeah, just get them at Bartell's.
Stimulants. Oh my God, my mom used those.
Really? Your mom used these? Uh-oh. I mean, is that good or is that
I
not
don't
good?
know if it's good or bad. It's just a memory flash. I don't know. It's when she had teeth, of course, at the end. Well, I won't go there. How do I get this off?
Oh,
I don't want to get them all dirty.
that's not hard.
I make it
You just kind of put your finger in here like this
Pull
and
it apart.
just pull one off. Yeah.
I didn't know they need stimulants. I can see.
Yeah,
that all the
they're
time.
great. They're the best.
They kind
And,
of splinter a little.
yeah, you gotta watch out for these countries.
I can remember my mom talking and doing this.
So I hope that hope you liked your mom, because if you see, if I do it, and then if you didn't like your mom, and then I do it, you probably heard
Oh.
them talk about how therapy,
Oh, that transference.
yeah, the therapist might be kind of like your parent or something.
Well, you could look like her because she dressed really well. She dressed really stylish, so I could project that on you. The stimulant, I don't think that wasn't a part of her that she would. I don't know. The stimulant seemed more human. She wasn't. She was such a perfectionist in her image to the world that if I caught her using a stimulant, it was like it was kind of like seeing her, do something really human. And she usually didn't want us to see that, but I think she was okay with this. And of course, she was going to be caught with something between her teeth. Oh my God. I mean,
Then what happened?
Oh, she would. I mean, and especially if you told her. I
Right.
said, Mom, you got. I mean, I wouldn't. I'd never tell anyone to get something.
Okay.
Never. I mean, I've done projects where the person leading, you just had lunch and then they smile and there's, you know, it's just awful.
Yeah, I know,
And
that's the worst. I've had that where I go and look in the mirror and I think, oh my gosh, I
Afterwards?
was just doing that whole session. Nobody said anything to me. I actually had this
Oh
piece
my
of
God.
lettuce in my teeth.
Would you want your,
It was terrible.
do you call us patients or clients?
Well, either one, patients, clients, it's all the same.
Yes,
Yeah.
okay. Would you want patient?
Well, yeah, I would. I would because
Really?
yeah, I don't like to go and look in the mirror and then see it there,
Well,
after.
maybe if that happens, I'll try to get the courage to tell you.
Yeah, please, yeah, tell me.
Wow, well, this is really special. I never expected something like this in therapy. I mean, this is like, wow. I'll keep this.
You're gonna keep that.
If I want to. Don't worry, I won't hoard minutes.
Oh, okay. So you don't think that
I don't hoard. I don't like that word.
You don't-
That
you don't
came
like that?
here, that somebody said that, and I don't.
well, but I think you do, Eva. I think you do hoard.
That's,
Because that's, I mean, we talked about how, you collect all that stuff.
yeah, but I'm not a hoarder. Look at me. Do I look like a hoarder?
Well, what is the hoarder?
So should we stop here or would you like to continue with this? Does that sound interesting or we should stop here? We can have a discussion in whatever we have seen so far.
Maybe Dr. Bhatia, if in between we take this pit stop and
Yeah.
have a little bit of discussions and then proceed
Right.
further.
Yes, yes. I was also thinking it might get a little, boring for just watching this throughout. Okay, so I would like to know from you people, everybody who's been watching, what exactly did you see over here? What did you think the person did right? What did you think the person did wrong? What is it that should have been avoided?
I think the therapist is a little unprofessional and getting too personal, digressing from mainstream topics and wasting the client's time and her time.
Very good. Excellent observation. Absolutely. This kind of conversation that she's having with her client is maybe something that you would probably have with a friend, but definitely not something which you would have in a clinical setup, in a therapeutic setting, in a counseling session. Wonderful. What else? Anybody else would like to add to what Gargi has said?
It also felt like maybe the therapist was judgmental in places.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like it seemed like there probably should be more empathy in a session.
So where did you find the attitude to have been judgmental?
Like when she called, so you're a hoarder, you hoard stuff. That's very judgmental.
Absolutely. And what did she do? She put her on the defensive because she immediately said, I'm not a hoarder. No, I don't hoard things. So
Do I look like one? Yeah.
do I look like a hoarder? So she immediately put the client on the defensive, and the client ended up trying to save her image rather than actually bringing up the issues that she had come up with.
Yes.
Very nice. Excellent. Anything else anybody would like to say? You think she did anything right?
In a way, maybe she put her client at rest,
Totally at
she was
ease.
informal. Yeah. So it was like she broke ice completely, I think.
Absolutely. So from here, if she had taken it on a professional level, it would have been probably okay, because then she has managed to put the client at ease, established a kind of a rapport. And if she had taken from here to deal with the issues, it would have been perfectly fine. But would you like to see what she did after this?
Sure, but there's another thing, she talked about her mom, which I think
Very
anybody
good.
should remind them about their mom is like, that's where you're just a spirit. You take shape in a physical form in your mom's womb. So I think that is a very good emotional connect, bond, rapport that she can use that as a launchpad. Now, let's see what she does forward from here.
The excellent thing that you picked up over there about the mother, the question that she asked, that this is what your mother did. Is this a good thing or a bad thing? So she was trying to establish what was the relationship that she had with her mother. So that was a wonderful question. But later on, when she said that did you have a good relationship with your mother, and sort of connected it with transference, that's where the problem arose. So let's see what she did after this, and we can stop in between again for our discussion.
It looks like.
Some homeless tramp that smells.
Oh,
That's a order.
well, no, you're not that, of course not. But you've got a lot of stuff in your house. I think it sounds like you bought stuff.
John called me that the other night. Just,
Well, he was probably right. Maybe someone needed to tell you.
here. Maybe.
Yeah, but we'll work on it.
Such a stigma. They have a TV show about
Right, they do. Yeah, you ever watched
it.
it?
I can't. I mean, it's just filth.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Those people on that show.
Oh, and they can't part with stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
I understand that, but I mean, to the point where they're hysterical, and it's just like crap, but it's junk and it's old and mildewy and looks like you could slide on it. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm neat. I mean, I collect shoes and clothes, beautiful, beautiful clothes. And I do, like,
So you collect really nice things.
Yeah.
Sounds like, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
what gave you the impression of order? Did I make
Well,
you think
I was
that?
reading and, that we have this book, the DSM-5, Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. So after we talked, I went and I was reading it and I read like the diagnostic criteria and I thought, wow, that really sounds a lot like Eva. They call it hoarding disorder,
Disorder, hoarding disorder. Choke.
Yeah, be careful. But it's, it's not such a bad thing. It just means that you tend to collect.
What's
Oh,
that?
excuse me,
Oh,
that's my phone. I gotta get this. Sorry.
maybe I should check mine.
Hello. Yeah. Oh, we were gonna go. What time do you want to meet tonight for dinner? 7 o'clock. Okay. Do you want to meet like at my office? Okay, great. Good. Thanks. I'll see you then. Okay. Bye.
Sorry. Sorry. Okay, so we stopped here again and let's discuss what we saw so far. Did you see anything, any new thing which you thought that she could have well avoided in the session?
Ma'am, I think she should not have picked up her phone or kept her phone on silent.
Totally. It's an absolute no-no to pick up your call unless it is absolutely essential, something which is totally unavoidable. Phone should not be received while in the session. Wonderful. Excellent. Anything else? What else do you think she could have avoided doing?
She's talking about, sorry.
Hanji, please go ahead. Yes, Gargi, what were you saying?
She talked about the client's disorder and the client is feeling like pinned down, she's making the client sound like she's not normal. And that kind of, the worried expression on her face, she's uncomfortable.
Not only is she uncomfortable about the fact that she has told her she's diagnosed her with a disorder, she was very perturbed about the term disorder.
Yeah.
So you're saying that it's a disorder. And she associates it with some terrible information that she has about hoarding disorder. Some serial that she has watched and she thinks it's absolutely the pits to be able to be told that you're with this disorder. Not only that, I don't know whether you heard that, you may have missed it because it was in a lower volume. It seems her husband had also said the same thing to her. He said the same thing, the husband's name, she said. And she said that he also told me the same thing. And the counselor said he may be right. So she is confronting him. Confrontation is not incorrect, but it is not something which needs to be done so early on in the relationship. You can, of course, you would probably need to pick up certain issues which need to be confronted later on if you have to help the client bring about some changes, but definitely not initially when you are still building rapport. That's not the time when the confrontation needs to take place. Let me see if we want to continue with this. I'll just skip some few things then, because I would like you to see the latter part, which is very important. All right, we can start from here.
Yeah, I don't know, so many memories of our house.
Yeah, well, yeah, I have memories.
I know the kids, I mean, another pair, yeah, I said,
She talked
I
about
went
collecting
to Lucy,
shoes.
and these I just thought would be so cute for summer. And
Wow,
actually, they were
those
really
are
expensive.
cute.
Yeah, and they look like velvet shoes,
They do.
don't they?
Oh my gosh, yes, yeah. Wow, those are really cool.
You like them?
Oh, yeah, can I see?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, they're very unusual and very well made, and they were unbelievably expensive. I think it's the brand. What, Chuka?
Yeah.
Maybe that's Italian. And I think it's real leather.
Oh
Or
my
is it rubber? I
gosh.
can't tell what it is.
Well, yeah, it's probably leather.
I think it's leather and
Yeah. Beautiful shoes.
really unusual style. Classic.
Mhm. Those are really nice. Yeah.
Do you think, would you want them?
Would I want them? Oh,
Well, maybe I need to do something like, you know, I don't know how I'm gonna have to start buying.
well, really, therapists, we're not supposed to take gifts, but if it would help you let go of something,
Maybe. I mean, I feel
I
this.
feel like it kind of be part of the
Yeah,
therapy. If
maybe part of the therapy.
if I-
Yeah. I mean, if you think you'd wear them,
oh, yeah, I think they're my size. I kind of looked and saw that they were.
do you
so,
think?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. This is gonna be weird, but maybe I should try it.
Well, it might be kind of a first step, and letting
Yeah.
go of something.
It might. I mean. Okay.
You sure?
I'll try it. I mean, I can just
These are
pretend I'm gonna
just
get
beautiful.
Christmas present
They're
today.
gorgeous.
Well,
Thank
yeah.
you. Yes, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, really appreciate them.
Yeah. Well, I hope
Yeah.
I see them on you. Here.
Well, yeah.
Look, you've
I'll
almost
wear
read it.
So any comments about this?
Really unusual session.
Besides unusual,
One of a kind.
it's totally unethical. So although she says that we are not supposed to be taking gifts, she does take it, and she also rationalizes taking it. No, that it will
Yes.
probably help you get over the hoarding problem. So that's something which is not at all supposed to be done. Not supposed to be taking gifts from the clients at all. It's totally unethical. And that is absolutely something that is not acceptable, or something that can be done in any session under any circumstances. Okay, so we are after talking about what is it that we cannot do, can we start? Can you all tell me what is it that we can do, we should be doing? I'll write over here. Let's see what all can be put over here as far as the aspects that should be there as qualities of an effective counselor. Shall we start?
Respect time, yours and the client's.
Wonderful. Respect time. Okay.
Build a rapport.
Build a rapport. Okay. But what do we do to build a rapport?
Yes, ma'am. I wanted to ask that.
So what do we do? What should we do to be able to build a rapport?
So, should we have initial 2-3 minutes for some general conversation?
Yeah, okay.
Does
Some
that help?
general conversation, but general conversation also, all right. Okay, let me put it down as general conversation.
Just as an icebreaker?
Absolutely. Icebreaker. What would be an icebreaker? What would be an icebreaker? What did she do? That is something that she did well. Forming a rapport was something she did well. So what did she do?
She just got personal with her client, and the client, she put her client at ease.
Right, right. So she basically asked her a lot of personal questions.
Personal questions, yeah.
But she asked them in a manner in which the client was willing to respond. So the initial rapport building was fairly decent. It's only later on that the session went haywire, है ना? Okay, so what else would be the qualities of an effective counselor?
A better listener than she was.
No, wonderful, great. Listener, okay.
Should be empathetic.
Empathetic, wonderful. What does empathy mean?
Put
You know, go ahead, Kargi.
to put yourself in the other person's shoes and feel what, or what the other person might be feeling.
See from the other person's perspective,
Yeah.
be able to be in the other person's shoes. We'll come to this later on. We'll be talking about empathy. Okay, what else?
Non-judgmental also.
Yeah.
Absolutely non-judgmental. Here she was being so judgmental about her and her behavior. No, you are hoarding your hoarding problem. She was calling it a disorder. No, and putting the person was becoming more and more defensive with every feedback that she was getting. What else?
I think another important thing that I don't know if she was doing, she wasn't making any notes. So unless she was recording the session in some way, she needs to document the session so that she can go back and analyze the session to make effective notes and plan a forward positive path.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. There has to be some form of documentation. Otherwise, she will not remember what the client said the last time. And each section would be a repetition of the previous one. Anna? Great, great, wonderful. What else?
At the end of the session, I think feedback is important from the client.
Feedback from the client. Before we get a feedback from the client, what we need to do?
And we need to, know what the client expects from us.
Yes, absolutely. Wonderful. Excellent observation. Find out what is the client's expectation. You can even ask this question directly. How is it that you think I can help you? No? So that would immediately tell you what is the client's expectation from you. And it is quite possible the expectation that the person has is not realistic. So that would become the opportunity for you to clarify that as well. That this is not something that I can do, but this is what I will be able to help you with. Anna? So,
Right.
okay. Any other?
Yeah, there's something else that I do in my sessions is that after the client has spoken for a little bit, I say, let's go over this so that, and I, repeat so that we're both on the same page and she knows that I've understood her, comprehended her completely.
So what
Instead
is
of
that?
right at
What is the term used for that?
Paraphrasing.
Paraphrasing. Excellent. Paraphrasing and reflecting. Right? What else? What else?
Knowledge or be trained, because the therapist needs to know what kind of actions that we can do and we can do not
Yeah,
in a
knowledge.
therapy session.
Yes, absolutely. So actually, instead of saying knowledge, I think we should say skill and training,
Yes, skill and training. Yes.
Skill and training, right. Okay, great. So skill and training is what we are going to be doing in our sessions now that we are, like all the sessions that we are going to be taking, that is exactly what we are going to be doing, taking learning skills and training ourselves to become good counselors. Okay, so let's see if we have covered everything that is supposed to be there.
So I want to make one comment towards the end.
Yes, sir.
Which is kind of a generic comment, is that can the coach take the posture of appreciative inquiry, whereby at least a few aspects, which could be appreciated about the client, so that, it uplifts the client at the same time.
Wonderful, sir. Excellent observation. That we call it validation, actually. Validation of the client as an individual and appreciative of the persons, I'll put it here, appreciating and the strengths of the individual. Because each person has their own strengths, and if we are able to recognize them and reinforce them, you have gone a long way into counseling, because you have given the person the feeling that yes, he or she can deal with their issues, that they have that ability.
Also, what I wanted to say is that when we are asking questions, one can take an appreciative inquiry mode.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So when we are having our conversation, it needs to be in the form of appreciative inquiry. Sorry. Wonderful. So have we covered all? Anything, anybody else would like to add something to this? I think we have more or less covered most of the points that are supposed to be there. Shall I go? Yeah, please.
What about, like, before the next meeting, do you want to tell the client to practice some small things just to, get on that path towards a progress?
Yes, we do give something that is referred to as homework.
Yeah.
We do give some kind of a homework for the person to practice or to record and to report when they come to the next session. But that in more detail will be covered in the next sessions that you will be having with Professor Pramila Batra. So she will be covering those aspects. I will be only talking about communication skills. Of course, communication skills are going to be effective throughout the entire therapeutic process. But initially, it is most important, because that's the time when you're going to establish rapport, make the client comfortable, get information as much as possible from the person. So it becomes very important in the initial sessions, but it doesn't lose its importance for the rest of the sessions as well. So all this listening, empathy, non-judgmental attitude, paraphrasing, reflection, validation, this will continue throughout the session. but it becomes even more important initially because it helps the person become comfortable, right? So let's see if we have covered all. It seems we have. So we have acceptance, we have empathy, we have positive regard, we have validation, we have communication, and we have reflection. Besides these are the core aspects that are required when we are working as a psychologist or as a counselor. But besides these, there are other qualities also which are required. Friendliness. If you come across as being a stern person who's only concerned with the therapy and not really concerned about anything else, and if you come across as a person who's friendly, open to listening to the person, there'll be totally two different kind of responses that you're going to get from your client. Genuineness on your part, expertise, we've already referred to. Attractiveness does not mean the way you look. It is basically how you come across to the person as an integrated person who knows exactly what they are talking about and will be of help to the client. So trustworthiness, whether I'm able to trust you with my information, something that I have not shared with even with my closest people, am I going to be able to share with you? Are you going to maintain the confidentiality? Active listening, calmness. You know, those who are of you who have children, you must realize that the children pick up your moods very quickly. If you are angry and agitated, the children start becoming cranky also. If you are happy, your child also becomes happy. So the same happens in the counseling session also. Your client picks up your thoughts, emotions, and how you are. So if you are thinking about your own problems and you're coming across as being agitated and disturbed, you will not be able to help the person feel calm. So it's important for you to be calm yourself to be able to help the other person feel calm. And you will have sometimes clients who will spend long times of silence. There will be clients whom you will have to ask questions again and again before they respond. There will be clients whom you will have to ask questions in different formats for them to be able to respond to you. So patience is definitely a very important component as far as a counselor is concerned. And warmth, your own body posture, relaxed body posture. Leaning forward is a bit of a controversial thing because not everybody is comfortable with your leaning forward. So you have to be able to see whether your client is going to be is feeling comfortable with your coming forward and in a way invading their space. So the best way for you to get to understand whether you are doing the right thing or not is from the response of your client. If the client is uncomfortable, it will show on their face. If they are comfortable, or that also it will show on their face. So whether you should lean forward or should not lean forward, whether that leaning forward is going to make the person comfortable or uncomfortable, you will get to know from the response of the person. Eye contact is very, very important, and awareness of your own value system. Awareness of your own value system will help you remain non-judgmental. If you remember that this is my value system and this is the other person's value system, and I need to accept the other person's value system, you will remain non-judgmental. But if you're not aware of your value system, it will keep interfering in your interactions and in your communications with your client. So the different skills that will be there in counseling are the communication skills, understanding skills, process skills, and the, and the clarifying the problem skills. So these skills are all the various skills that are there as far as counseling is concerned. And like I said, that I will be talking about specifically about communication skills. The other three will be taken up by Professor Batra in the subsequent sessions.
Ma'am,
So
could I
coming,
ask a question?
yes, please go ahead.
Can you give an example to explain what you said, that if our own value system is how it will interfere with the clients?
say for example, okay, let me think of an example. So if supposing my value system is, say, let me take a very general kind of an example. Say, for example, I have been brought up with the idea that girls have independent views, and girls are, we come from a family where girls are given their space, and they are given that freedom, and they are given that space to express their opinions, have their own ideas, pick up areas of profession that they want to. And this client comes to you who is coming from a fairly conservative family, and the family from where the person is coming is the kinds who do not allow girls to stay out for very late. The parents are the ones who make decisions for the girls. And if you recognize this fact that, okay, my value system is different because I have come from this setup, and her value system is different because of the way she has been brought up, it will not interfere. Otherwise, you will say, why cannot you do this? Why is it, why just because you're a girl, they are not going to allow you? You should stand up and tell your parents that this is not the way things are done. But that kind of an interaction is not going to help the client. For the client to be able to take up a stand, you will need to work a lot as far as the client is concerned, as far as the family is concerned. Help the client to work within that family structure. And that I can do only if I recognize that, okay, her value system, her social setup is different from my value system and my social setup. So she is an individual in her own right, and I am a different person with a different background and a different set of values. So unless I recognize this, I will not be able to help the client the way the client needs to be helped. Otherwise, it will become almost like my pushing her into taking a stand against the parents, which will only make situation worse for her.
Thank you.
Does that answer your question?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
All right. Okay, so these are the 5 skills that I will be covering. That is attitude of respect and acceptance, understanding the client's internal frame of reference, receiving voice messages accurately, body messages accurately, and small rewards and open-ended questions. So let's start with all these, of course, will help in the relationship development. Hello, ma'am. Okay, we'll start with the rapport building. The initial rapport building is dependent on all these skills, and rapport building is the first, absolutely the first pro aspect of any counseling relationship. The others are, of course, extended exploration, problem resolution, termination, and follow-up, which will be done later on. We will be talking about rapport building and relationship building. So the first aspect of attitude of respect and acceptance, we need to recognize that not all clients who come to us come voluntarily. Although most of them do come voluntarily, there will be others who are sent to us. Like, say, for example, a child may come with the parent. The parent is saying that this child doesn't behave properly. You please do something about this child. I cannot manage this child at all. This child is misbehaving too much. There is complaint from the neighbors. There's complaint from the school. I cannot manage this child. Please do something about him or her. So this child is obviously come there much against his or her wish. Or there may be a spouse who has come, maybe the wife has threatened that unless you go for counseling, I'm going to divorce you. You're not stopping your alcohol problem. Or there may be somebody who's been sent from the office. A lot of organizations are now, they have their connections with counselors and therapists. So they do send their workers once in a while, officers once in a while, or team members because they think that the person is having some problem. So these people are obviously very reluctant to come. But even though the client may have come voluntarily, all of them who come to you, they do come with a certain amount of anxiety, a certain amount of defensiveness, wondering what kind of relationship they're going to have, wondering whether they're going to be helped at all or not. There also may be some who come to you after they have been to 2 or 3 therapists and not had a good experience. So they would be even more reluctant to talk. So it's important for us to help each and every one of them feel comfortable, feel confident that the counseling is going to be helpful for them. The attitude with which the counselor talks to the clients is very, very important. And the counseling relationship begins not only on the first session. This is something that we need to remember. It doesn't always start on the first session. It can also start before the first session also, when the client calls you up for an appointment. So what is the tone of voice you're using with the person? That is very important. Are you giving the impression to the person that I'm very busy, I'll have to find out from my secretary when I am free, only then I can give you an appointment? That also puts off the client. Or are you going to be talking only about how much each session is going to cost them? Only financial aspects are important. There also, the session, the initial relationship itself gets disturbed. So how you put across your point, how you speak to the person when the person calls up for an appointment, that is equally important. So even before the first session, the entire process of rapport building starts. And in case you are going to deal with your clients through your receptionist or a secretary, it's important to have them also trained in these aspects, because otherwise, if the client is put off or upset even before coming to see you, you're going to have a hard time building a rapport with that person. And of course, when the person comes to you, the acceptance, the respect that you show to the person is very, very important. Understand that the other person has their own thoughts, their own feelings, and they have every right towards their own thoughts and feelings. You cannot push across your own thoughts onto them and say that what you are saying is right, because the relationship is supposed to be that of equality between you and your client. You need to understand that you are like a catalyst who is going to help the person deal with their own problems. So what the solution is right for you need not necessarily be the right solution for the person. That is something which we need to keep in our mind. Value their individuality, encourage and support their growth and development, and definitely avoid using sanctimonious or moralistic responses to criticize the parent that the child is like this because the way you are parenting the child, you are letting the child grow like this. You have not laid down any kind of rules and regulations. You have made sure that the child has his own way. When you're not going to stop the child at home, how can you expect the child to do that when the child is in school? Those kind of statements need to be avoided. And at all points, empathy is very, very important. You have already said what is empathy. Let's also see what it is. So empathy has been explained differently by different people. The different ways in which it has been understood is that it is the ability to understand and share feelings of another, being able to walk in the other person's shoes, capacity to understand or feel what another person is experiencing from their frame of reference. And it encompasses a broad range of social, cognitive, and emotional processes which focus on the understanding and the experience of the other person. All these are the various ways in which it has been understood. There is a dictionary, Merriam-Webster dictionary definition of empathy, which says that it is the action of understanding, being aware of, being sensitive to, and vicariously experiencing the feelings, thoughts, and experience of another, of either the past or present, without having the feelings, thoughts, and experience fully communicated in an objectively explicit manner. So very complex meaning to a fairly simple word. Basically, it means to be able to understand what the other person is trying to convey to you with a lot of understanding, and trying to understand the experience of the other person in a vicarious manner. So let's understand what is the difference between sympathy and empathy. I'm sure all of you have heard of both these terms. Difference between sympathy and empathy?
Sympathy, I feel like might be something like when you feel bad for someone.
Right.
Empathy might be when you feel what they're feeling, or at least try to.
Absolutely. Wonderful. Excellent. So what would be the difference? What would be your approach to the person when you are feeling sympathetic and when you're feeling empathetic? How would it be different?
I guess one sees how people say they're there. That's sympathy. But if I were to ask, would you like to tell me what happened or be curious about as to how they're feeling? I guess that would be
Okay. All right.
Or
Wonderful. Okay. Yeah. Please go on.
sympathy, I feel, would be more like, you are pitying the person that he's in that
Wonderful.
condition.
Mm,
And empathy is more like understanding
mm.
and accepting in a non-judgmental way.
Absolutely. Wonderful. Excellent.
I think empathizing with a person is probably more proactive, because if you're sympathizing, you're just there. You're unable to take the person out of the well. Whereas if you're empathizing, then you probably are able to hold their hand and, take them forward on a more constructive path.
Excellent. Wonderful. I think you all have been able to cover most of the aspects. So empathy, as you said, is non-judgmental. It is the ability to listen, to understand. But in sympathy, you are listening so that the moment the person stops speaking, there will be a lot of advice or solutions that you will give from your end. So it is looking at the other person's perspective. In empathy and in sympathies, you are looking at the problem from your own perspective. You decide whether what the person is doing is right or wrong. The empathy, you are acknowledging the person's emotions, whereas in sympathy, the idea is to suppress the other person's emotions. Nay, you should not be feeling like this. Or, yeah, I know anybody in your situation would feel like this only. So, and the idea is basically to tell the person that it's okay, you don't need to feel like this. Whereas in empathy, you say, yes, I can understand you're feeling like this. Would you like to tell me more about it? So the entire approach in the two aspects is totally different. So empathy is feeling the same emotion as the other person, and sympathy is feeling pity or sorrow for the other person. There is concern there as well, but there the position is that I know more than you do, whereas in empathy it is more of a equality, that I can understand what you're going through. Let me help see how we can deal with it. Enough? Okay, so coming to the second aspect, anything anybody would like to ask about the first one? So we'll move on to the second one, that is the client's internal frame of reference. Basically, it is how what is the perspective that the person has about that problem, the particular problem that the person is facing. The assumption over here is that the greater the understanding the client develops about a particular experience, the easier the client will find to be able to deal with it. So I'm going to do an activity as far as all right, a little bit more about it, and then we will do an activity and where you can tell me how the statement will be, how you would as a counselor say it as an external reference and as an internal frame of reference. So these skills are required when you are going to be talking to the person about their frame of reference. That is, you're going to be listening, the attending, listening, reflecting. Reflecting is what you're doing when you are trying to tell them or trying to bring them into a more internal frame of reference so that the person becomes or develops an insight into the issue. And to be able to reflect, you will be required to probe into the problem a little bit more, and that needs to be done very, very sensitively, unlike what we saw in the first video. So there, the probing was out there in the face of the person, and the person was left feeling very upset. So it has to be done in a very sensitive manner. Many times you would require to use silence, because I was talking about when initially we were talking about the clients being silent for a long period of time. So you also need to be equally comfortable with that silence, giving them the chance or the time or the opportunity to frame their thoughts before they are able to express it. And that we can do with open-ended questions. We'll come to open-ended questions later on. So let's do this activity. My parents want me to study to become a doctor, but I'm not sure what I want to do. If I want to do that. So what would be the external frame of reference and what would be the internal frame of reference that the counselor would say to the client? My parents want me to study to become a doctor, but I'm not sure I want to do that. So you're reflecting to the person, to your the adolescent who has come to you. What would be the reflection with your external frame of reference, and what would it be with the internal frame of reference? Or maybe I could give you one example and you could give me the next one. So the external frame of reference is, yeah, parents often have ideas of their own. That is, you're putting the responsibility onto the parents. The internal frame of reference is, you are not sure what you want to do, unlike your parents. So basically the focus, as you can see in the external frame of reference, it is to the other person, the parents. But in the internal frame of reference, what you're reflecting is helping the person to look at what they think and what they feel. You are not sure, right? Has this example clarified what external frame of reference and internal frame of reference means? It's more or less like locus of control, if you know what that term means.
Ma'am, could you explain a little more, please?
Okay, so external frame of reference means that my thinking is based on what's something that is happening outside of me. No, like over here, my parents want me to study to become a doctor. So when I reflect and I say, yes, I know parents often have ideas of their own, it means that I'm leaving the responsibility of the decision onto the parents. But if I say, when I'm reflecting and I say, you are not sure what you want to do, unlike your parents, so I'm bringing the focus inwards towards the person, that you are not sure. So in a way, you're encouraging the person to think from their own internal frame of reference rather than leaving it to the parents. Okay, so there's a parent, if I say that, yeah, I can understand parents often have ideas of their own. So then what will the discussion go on to? It will go on to parents. The adolescent will say, my parents don't listen to me at all. I can keep telling them whatever I want to say. They don't want to listen to whatever I'm saying. Then you will say, yes, I can understand your parents are not listening to you. The issue will go off totally at a tangent. The parents will become the focus rather than the client.
Okay.
Do you get my point? But when you say you are not sure what you want to do, that makes the person or sort of pushes the person to reflect on what he or she wants. You are not sure what you want to do, unlike your parents. Yes, I'm not sure what I want to do. I'm sure I don't want to become a doctor, but I don't know what I want to be. That is the reason why I can't stand up and say that I don't want to be a doctor. I want to be XYZ. Okay, so what is it that you would like to really do? Have you thought about it? What are your strong points? What is it that you would like to, how do you see yourself in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years time? So the focus has now become the person.
Right.
Hannah, is there a difference between the two transactions?
Yes.
Hannah? So basically, when I'm reflecting to the person, I need to reflect in a manner that the person's internal frame of reference is activated. Does that make sense? Anybody has a question regarding this? So shall we go on to the next one? Maybe when you do that, you'll be able to understand it better. I have studied well for my exams, but I worry about failing. What would be the external and what would be the internal frame of reference over here? How would I reflect? What would I say for it to be an external frame of reference?
Would it be that, you know, they may be difficult questions and it could be a tough paper?
Okay. But the statement is, I have studied well for my exams, but I worry about failing. The question paper has still not come, Hannah. It is to be in the future. The adolescent has studied well, but is worried about failing. So what would be the external frame of reference and what would be the internal frame of reference? If you have prepared well, you should be. So what is the external frame of reference? If you are prepared well, you should be okay. So don't worry about it. If you are prepared well, you should be fine. But this statement doesn't take into account the fact that the child is worried about failing. So what would be the internal frame of reference? You are concerned about failing your exams despite preparing well. So the child says, yes, I know I have prepared well, but I'm still feeling worried. I don't know what should I do about it. So then the client, the therapist or psychologist or the counselor will say, yes, okay, tell me, what can you do about it? You are feeling concerned despite preparing well. So what is it that you would like to do about it? Do you think this the thought that you are having is helping you remain calm for your exam? No. So basically what you are shifting is, by bringing the internal frame of reference, you're helping the person to look inwards rather than outside. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. With the second example, it's much more clearer what you're saying.
So I have studied well for my exams, but I worry about failing. So you can either respond by saying that if you're prepared well, this is usually our response. No, if you have studied well, then why are you worried? So this is our usually response. That is our usual response, but that is not the response we need to give as a counselor. The counselor needs to reflect in a manner that will help the person to look inwards. So despite preparing well, you're concerned about failing your exams. What is the matter? Why is it you're feeling like this? No? So then that helps the person introspect, look into themselves. Why is it that I'm feeling upset or worried about failing, despite the fact that I know that I have prepared well?
So ma'am, in
Hanji.
both the examples,
Yeah,
sorry, I'm not from psychology background.
doesn't matter, that's okay.
So we are basically saying almost the same thing back to the person, what he has told us.
Yes,
Just
we
in
are.
a different phrase.
That is what reflection is, that
Right.
we are,
So it's
yeah,
like
Hannah?
a mirror.
Yeah, it's like a mirror. So you are mirroring
Okay.
what the person has said, but in a manner which will help the person to introspect.
Okay.
No, so you are talking about the problem that the person is telling you about, but at the same time you are taking the focus in a manner that the person is sort of encouraged to look inwards as to why exactly I'm facing this issue and what needs to be done about it. Like I said earlier also, the solution of one person is not necessarily the same as a solution for another person. Or I may not be worried about my exams after I have studied well. So if I don't realize or recognize that this person has this problem and this person is different from me, I could very well have said, what is the problem? If you have studied well, why should you be worried? I don't think there is any reason to worry. But that is not what the person is looking for from you. The person is looking for an understanding that I am feeling worried despite having studied. So what I need to help the person think about is, why is it that I'm feeling worried despite having prepared well? Do you get my point? Yeah?
Yes.
So let's see. Last one. it's a difficult project, but now I think I can manage it. What would be the external and the internal frame of reference? Anybody who's going to try this? Shall we have a look? The external frame of reference is still on the project. The project is difficult, but you think you can manage it. You think it's manageable. So the focus is on the project. The internal focus is you are feeling confident about managing the difficult project. No? So the next question could be that, okay, what is it that made you feel confident? So you are sort of focusing on the positives that the person may be feeling, that, okay, I think that now I have got good leadership skills, so I think I can manage the team. Oh, wonderful. That's great. You have good leadership skills. So you think now you can manage the team and the project will not be so tough for you? Yes, I think I can manage it now. So what have you done? You have helped the person to look inwards. So the project is difficult, but you think it's manageable. The focus is still outwards on the project. Have these three examples helped you understand the difference between internal and external frames of reference?
Yes, but I think we need more practice on this.
Yes, yes, of course. See, all these skills do not come overnight, because they are slightly different from what we do when we are having interactions at a, as a friend or as an advisor or as somebody to whom your child or your neighbor has come for help. So this is slightly different from that. So how are you going to help the person? If you recall, one of the aspects was to help the person grow and develop. So this is how you will help the person grow and develop. Tap their internal skills, tap their internal ways of dealing with things. So bring the focus from outside to the inside. That the project is difficult, but you think it is manageable, is still the external aspect. But if you say that you are feeling confident about managing this difficult project, so what about you think is making this difficult project now easy for you to be able to manage? So the person looks at his or her own personal characteristics, which are now making the person feel confident. So you are validating the person, you are helping the person to grow. If you remember, there was an appreciative inquiry that Mrs. Serene had talked about. So that would come over here. Does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So, and I think when it is picked up in the next sessions regarding the other skills, these would also be sort of repeated, because you will be using these skills in the subsequent sessions also, not just in the first one. So I'm sure you will, the more you read about it and the more you understand it, the more comfortable you will feel with it, right? And also, whatever skills you learn here, if you practice them wherever you are working, it will help you to understand better. And in the next sessions, when you come, you can always find out, clarify if you are having a problem with anything, having difficulty with managing any particular aspect, right? So coming to the third aspect, that is receiving voice messages accurately. That is active and reflective listening. Not only just listening to the verbal content, but understanding the meaning behind it. If you are not able to understand something that the person has said, it is always important that you clarify that information. You can always say that this is what I have understood. If you remember, if you see the previous slides that we have talked about, the information that the person is given to you, you can always summarize, paraphrase, and ask the person that this is what I have understood. Am I right in my understanding? the person will either say, yes, I think you've understood it correctly, or the person will say, no, I don't think this is what I meant. What I really meant to say was this. So that clarifies information for you as well. So paraphrasing and reflecting is very, very important for both the client as well as for you. For the client to understand that you are listening and you've understood, and for you to clarify information for yourself. Paralinguistic cues are very important as well. That paralinguistic cues are, where is the person laying stress in the sentence, where is the person pausing, how long is the person taking to complete a particular sentence, where is the person stopping mid-sentence, not wanting to complete that sentence. All these are paralinguistic cues. So paralinguistic cues have an important role to play as far as understanding information is concerned. So let me give you actually a silly example, but it will help you understand what is paralinguistic cues. So if you say, for example, if the sentence is that Vivek has cleared his exams and he is going abroad to study. So you can say, Vivek is going abroad to study. So which is like an awe, you know, like, oh, great, Vivek is going abroad to study. And I can also say, Vivek is going abroad to study, which means that of all people, Vivek is going to study abroad. So where I have placed stress in the entire sentence has changed the entire meaning of that sentence. So paralinguistic cues are quite important, where the person is stressing, how the person is expressing. All these aspects also we need to keep in mind and make a note of. What is the person's social context within which the person's perspective is? I think that we already talked about when I gave that example about the girl. And that's the kind of social setup each person is coming from. We need to understand the social context, the social background of the person to be able to understand the person's problem better. And empathy is something which cannot be underlined enough. At every point of time, we need to have the empathy with our client. And this empathy can be seen by your client, by your reflections, and by your validations of the person. I can understand, I know I can see what you're going through. I can understand you're feeling very upset about it. Would you like to talk more about it? That shows your understanding and empathy. The active listening aspects are listening without interruptions, without getting distracted, without receiving phone calls in the middle of the session, paraphrasing, reflecting, asking for clarification, focused and direct questions, summarizing whatever has been said in that particular session, and sometimes even summarizing from the previous session, so that the present session, there is a continuity between what was spoken last time and what is being discussed now. And like I said, empathy and non-judgmental attitude remains throughout till the end, till you wind up with the client. It has to be there all throughout. So these are the various aspects of active listening. Be attentive, ask open-ended questions, probing questions, but in a very sensitive manner so that the person doesn't become defensive. Request clarification wherever there is a problem, you think that you have not been able to understand something. Paraphrase, be attuned to and reflect the feelings of the individual. Summarize. So these aspects we've already discussed. These are the 7 key active listening skills which we need to keep in mind at all times. So any questions so far in the 3 skills that we have discussed till now? Then we can move on for the 4th one, that is body messages. No questions? Okay, what exactly does everyone understand about body messages? What exactly do we understand by body language?
Facial expressions, gesticulations, hand movement.
Wonderful.
The way your body is moving conveys a what the person is feeling, uncomfortable, comfort. It's just, whether your client is relaxed or not at ease. It's
Wonderful.
a way of communication, actually.
Absolutely. In fact, the research says that almost 70 to 80% of our communication is non-verbal through our body language. There is the way we sit, the way we stand. If I'm holding my arms, cross my arms across my chest, that shows defensiveness. I don't want to talk about the problem to the person who's sitting in front of me. The eye contact is a very important body language, non-verbal communication, whether I'm looking at you or you as a client, as a counselor is looking at the client or not. So these are all these comprise of the body messages. And body messages, like I said, that so much of our communication is done in a non-verbal manner that we just cannot afford to ignore it, right? So it's very important for us to see exactly what the person is conveying through the body language, because many times there is a discrepancy between what the person is saying and what the body is saying. What is the verbal message and what is the non-verbal message? I think this we may have experienced in all of us, we may have experienced in our lives. Our friend may be saying that I'm absent. What you ask the person, what happened? You're looking very sad. No, I'm absolutely fine. But the face, the eyes, everything is showing that the person is sad. So there is this discrepancy between the verbal and non-verbal communication is an important aspect that we need to note. The one thing that we also need to remember is that there are cultural differences as far as body language is concerned. Like the example that I have given over here, that in a lot of cultures, not looking the person in the eye is considered to be a sign of respect. In fact, in a lot of Indian cultures, you will find that the person will be having their head down, looking at the person's feet rather than at the person's face, because that is supposed to indicate respect. So we need to be very careful before saying that the person is not maintaining eye contact and that is something inappropriate. Unless we know about the cultural background of the person, it's very difficult to interpret correctly the body language. But we definitely must make a note of any kind of discrepancy between verbal and non-verbal messages. So these, like you've already said, body postures, eye contact, distance from the counselor, distance from the partner, these are also important aspects. Whether if the person is not comfortable with the counselor, the person will sit as far away as possible. Even in their chair, they will be leaning back. They will not come forward to be able to, that the comfort level is not there between the counselor and the client. That can be made out very, very easily from the body language. When there are two people who have come, how far they sit from each other, that also tells us a lot about the relationship between the two. Usually when there are people coming in for marital counseling, you will find that the husband and the wife are sitting in two ends of the table. They don't want to sit close together. All these aspects, facial expressions, all these are important indicators about the person. These are the facial expressions which were given by Paul Ekman many, many years back. These are the 7 basic emotions that have been described, and of course, lots of work has been done later on as well, but a lot of information can be taken from the facial expressions of the individual, especially that of emotions. No, and like I said earlier also, any discrepancy between the emotional expression of the face and the verbal communication of the emotions has to be noted and picked up, not necessarily at that particular point of time, maybe later on when you feel that the client is comfortable enough for you to be able to bring up that issue. Coming now to the last aspect, that is small rewards and open-ended questions. When we are in a session, we use both open-ended and closed-ended questions. Of course, you have closed-ended questions like asking the person's name or other demographic data like address or phone number, how can I contact you, and or age or whatever. All these questions are all closed-ended. You can't possibly have them as open-ended questions. But for any other information, for any information that you require in depth, it's important that we ask it in an open-ended manner. That is, the more open-ended questions you ask, the greater will be the amount of information that you will get. Also, when you ask an open-ended question, it leaves the freedom for how much information the person wants to share with the client. No, if the person doesn't want to share in the initial sessions, you will have the person speak to you in 1 or 2 sentences. But as the person becomes more and more comfortable with you, they will give lots more information than you expected if you ask an open-ended questions. So if you ask a question like, would you like to tell me more about this? Or maybe you could tell me a little bit more so that I can understand this better. So these kind of open-ended questions, if you ask, you will be able to get lots more information. And these questions are non-threatening. So the other person also, the client also doesn't feel upset about the questions that you ask. Usually we try to avoid the why question. That is, why did you do this? Or, okay, you've done this. Why did you come over here? Why did you call this person? So that kind of a question puts the other person on the defensive. So we try to avoid these questions, which are likely to stop the communication process. Okay, so would you like to give me examples of open-ended questions and closed-ended questions? Closed-ended questions. What are the kind of closed-ended questions we can have?
So something like, do you agree with this, can be a close-ended question, which leads to a yes or a no.
Absolutely, wonderful. Excellent. So if I have, say, for example, as a counselor, given a suggestion, so do you think this would be okay? So that would be a closed-ended question. Great. Any other example of closed-ended question?
On a personal preference of liking or disliking, that's simple answer, yes or no.
Yes, absolutely. So if you're asking any questions related to the person's likes or dislikes, that would be a closed-ended question. Very good. Open-ended questions, examples of open-ended questions.
What do you like most about your work?
What do you like most about your work? How great, wonderful. That's excellent. Any that gives the freedom to the person. That person can share whatever they want to do about the work that they are doing. Great.
Tell us about your strengths.
Tell us about your strengths. Wonderful question. What do you think are your strong points? No, very nice. Very nice question.
Could you elaborate on that? Could also be an open-ended question.
Absolutely. So what you have told me right now, could you elaborate a little bit more so that I can understand it better? Wonderful.
Or when you ask your client to express his opinion or his views on a certain matter, it gives him a lot of space to express himself.
Great. In fact, that is something sometimes when you have difficulty establishing rapport with somebody and you are not being able to ask questions related to emotions and thoughts which are very deep for the individual, the person is not yet comfortable with you. You can ask questions related to even the issues that are happening at that particular point of time. The person comes up with some statement. You can tell the person, yeah, that sounds like an interesting topic. Would you like to talk more about it? So the person can start talking about a particular topic of their interest, and you can develop your rapport from there. Great, wonderful, excellent. So I think open-ended and closed-ended questions, there is great amount of clarity over here. So let's move on. So like questioning, we can see that questioning is a very important component of the therapeutic process or of a counseling session, whether we ask open-ended or closed-ended. It is important because it helps us in getting information. And the idea is that we ask questions in a manner that will give us the maximum amount of information in an absolutely non-threatening manner. And the timing of that question is very important. When to ask that question, whether the person is willing to share with you the details about a particular thing. Also, you may realize after you ask the question that the person is not really willing. So you need to just let go of it. And you can bring that up later on when the person has, you've developed better rapport with that person. No? So what kind of question? When you're going to ask that question, both of them are equally important. So coming now to rewards. Rewards is also one of the components of the counseling session, which will help in validation of the individual, which helps in helping the person realize that I have achieved a particular goal that I had set for myself. Also, it helps as a kind of encouragement. The rewards are very well linked with any kind of goal setting behavior. So if we say, for example, we have a long-term goal, it's important that we have certain short-term goals related to that, and each short-term goal needs to have a reward. Now, what that reward is will differ from one person to another. It will depend upon the age of the individual. It will depend upon the need of the client. These and the reward should be absolutely sort of equivalent or commensurate with the goal that you have formulated with the person. It should not either be too much, far beyond what the person deserves to get for that particular goal achievement, nor it should be so little that the person doesn't feel motivated to achieve that goal. So it depends upon the goal, it depends upon the age, the need of the client, what is the reward that you're going to keep for that person. But rewards are definitely important for all of us, regardless of the age. The small children will have different kinds of rewards, the older persons will have different kinds of rewards, but we all require rewards for us to be able to pursue those goals that we have kept for ourselves. Even recognition, appreciation, praise from the client, from the counselor to the client also acts as a reward. But again, when we are given that recognition or praise, then also we have to be very careful how much praise we give. The praise also should not be so much that the person starts wondering, what have I done that this person is going so gaga over it? Nor should the praise be so little that the person feels that I made so much of an effort and my counselor has not even recognized. So certain amount of reward, whether it is in concrete or terms of appreciation and recognition, that needs to be there for the person to continue working towards the goals that the person has set for themselves with the help of the counselor or any of the challenges that they need to overcome. This is the last video that I would like to see. So, Hanji, yes, sir.
Dr. Bhatia, this rewards a very interesting angle.
Yes,
now,
sir.
Keeping in mind the coaching or the counseling relationship.
Right, sir.
And often nowadays, there could also be virtual cases. So while understand appreciation is in that category of reward, but can you please elaborate it a bit with some examples which might help the coaches as well?
Okay, so basically, see, like I said that you could either have the reward which is concrete, like you may say, for example, for children, concrete rewards work well. So anything that the child depends upon the age, they want different things. The smaller children, now of course, all children want to have time with the social media, or they want to have a certain kind of gadgets and all. So those rewards need to be made linked to a certain kind of achievement of the goals that they have been set for themselves. For the older people, the rewards are in terms of praise, in terms of appreciation. Maybe if they've done some task well in the office, they are getting their promotion. That also is a reward for them. And when they get the reward over there in the office, they come and report to you that I have been able to do this well, and I have been able to get my promotion, which I have been trying for so long. So, but this time I was able to achieve my goal, and the deadlines and all that was set in the office, and I have got my promotion. So when you appreciate, that is again another reward for the person, that, oh, wonderful, that's great. So you've been able to fulfill your goal. Even that much of a sentence is sufficient for that person to feel good about what they have done. So reward is a very important aspect and definitely should not be ignored, especially if we are working towards certain goals that we expect the client to be able to achieve. Does that answer your question, or you would like me to give some more examples related to this?
Good, thanks.
Yeah. So once again, I would like to reiterate that the goals and the rewards need to be commensurate. The small goals should get small rewards, and the big goals, long-term goals, should get big rewards, not the other way around. Because then if the person feels that I have been given such a huge reward for the small thing that I have given, so now I have achieved all that I need to achieve, I don't need to go any further, then that also doesn't work for us. So, and if we don't appreciate if the person has achieved a goal, then again, the person feels disheartened that I have worked so hard, but nobody has recognized. There is no point in making the effort. Let it be, forget it. So either way, it is important that there is certain amount of reward, whether it comes from outside or from inside, the reward has to be there. We all know that initially all rewards come externally, and it's only later that the rewards become internal, when we tell ourselves that, okay, I've done a great job. No? Okay, so this is the last video that I would like to show. So first one, I showed you what should not be done. Here you will see some of the skills that we have talked about, how it is being used. So it will give you clarity in understanding what we have discussed so far.
That you'd like to discuss today. So whenever you're ready, I'm happy for you to tell us whatever it is that you'd like to talk about.
Yeah, well, I suppose the bottom line is I'm having some difficulties in my relationship with my wife, and I'm very uncertain about actually being here, and it's embarrassing talking about these things with a stranger.
Yeah, so you're feeling a little bit uncomfortable discussing such personal information with an outsider.
Yes, it is. I'm a bit awkward.
Right.
I'm brought up to solve your problems yourself.
Yeah.
And when you go outside the family, you don't take problems to strangers. And I would normally do, but also I realise now that given the depth of the problem, that I also need to get another perspective on things.
Okay, all right. I guess what I generally say to people when they first come along is that it's not uncommon to feel quite uncomfortable talking to an outsider about such personal information. And even though I can't predict exactly how you're going to feel and how things will go for you today, I do know that in the past, a lot of other people have actually felt quite uncomfortable to begin with, but as they've been able to talk and get things off their chest, they actually feel quite relieved. So you might find that as we spend more time together, that you're more comfortable in this environment too.
Well, I have to accept that one.
Yeah, we'll see how we go.
Well, there was a friend of mine who'd been involved in counselling previously
Right.
who suggested that this is what I should attempt to do anyway. See what
Right.
we can.
Okay. And you were saying before as well that that normally you like to solve things yourself and work things out yourself. And I think it's quite a balanced perspective to be looking at how you're going to resolve things yourself, and also to get an outside perspective as well. So I can see lots of benefit that can come from that dual approach.
Well, I haven't succeeded in doing it by myself, so
Yeah.
it's worth a go.
Yeah, so perhaps we can shed some light on some helpful approaches for you. Okay, I guess to help me understand your situation, it'd be helpful if you could talk a little bit about what's been going on for you and what's brought you along.
Well, I suppose things have just deteriorated in the relationship with my wife, Angelina. We've been married 11 years now. We've got 2 kiddies, John who's 9 and Jackie who's 7.
Right.
And she's very busy in a job, and she's always been I suppose, a bit of a control freak.
Right.
She likes things to be just so. And occasionally she would, what I would call it, lose the plot, and she'd yell at me and abuse me. But in the past, that was never a problem because we could sit down and talk about it. And she'd recognise that she'd probably gone over the top and whatever. But lately, it's really just gotten out of hand, and it's she's not controlling her anger or temper, and it really concerns me now because I think it's starting to affect the kids.
Right, okay. So it sounds like to begin with, she might often become quite angry, but she would settle down and you could resolve things. But of late, it's become a lot more volatile, and she's become more explosive, and you're really concerned about the impact on yourself and the children.
Yeah, I mean, the kids are young, and I mean, John, he's a boy, and he seems to be handling things okay. But you're always uncertain as to really how things affect him. Jackie's only 7, as I said, and she's a lot more sensitive. And she's not really handling things too well. And that's really starting to put a lot of extra concern to me.
Yeah, okay. So it sounds like you've got a lot of concerns about both the kids, and John's probably handling it okay outwardly, even though obviously he's feeling it. But Jackie, you're particularly concerned about because she's quite delicate, and you're worried about that impact.
Yeah.
And all of you are walking around on eggshells at the moment, just waiting for some kind of explosion to happen. Does that sound right?
Well, I'm concerned about the kids, but I'm concerned about the marriage. It's important to me to do what you can to keep things together because that's better for the kids.
Yeah.
But if I had to single out one major concern, it would be probably.
So I thought that would give you a lot of idea about reflecting. She was doing a lot of reflecting, right? So would you like to, anybody like to tell me what is it that you saw in that video?
All positive things. I think she is a great therapist. She put him at ease. She asked open-ended questions. She paraphrased at the right time. She herself appeared relaxed and calm, and she put him at ease, I think. And ultimately the client opened up, and she was empathetic as well because she remembered the children's names, and she developed a nice rapport, I think.
Oh, wonderful. Excellent. Excellent. So she was able to, you could see most of the things that she was that we had discussed earlier. She even talked about, did you notice the internal and external frame of reference in the feedback that she gave him? She talked about the wife, that was external frame of reference. And then she said, you are feeling very concerned about her explosive behavior, was the internal frame of reference. Did you notice that?
Yes, now that you're mentioning it, we can relate it to the internal and external. I have a question here, ma'am. Yes. She used this strong words like explosive and volatile.
Right, right. But that
How was
is,
that?
yeah, because that is what he was talking about. She was reflecting what he had said, that earlier he could get through to her, but now she has become very violent, and it's very difficult to speak with her. So that is exactly what she also expressed. So he felt understood, because he said, yes, that is how it is right now. I'm concerned about the children. And like I had said earlier also in the one of the aspects when we were discussing, that the best person you will get a feedback from, whether you're going in the right direction or not, is your client. If you say something which the client doesn't like, you will see immediately from the person's body language, from the facial expressions, by the way the person's body stiffens, and you will realize immediately that you have not said the right things. And you can say, you can either retract or you can say directly that it seems what I have said is not something that you have liked. So how do you think you would like to put this? Okay. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question? Yeah. No, because a lot of times because after all, every person is going to be different, and you don't learn all these things in the books. So it's only when you are with the client, you will be able to realize if you have made an error, and you can always deal with that error at that particular point of time. Don't try to gloss over it, because the other person who's come to you is also a bright and intelligent person. So it's okay for you to say that I seem to have said the wrong thing. Would you like me to frame it in a different manner? How would you like to put it? So that's also perfectly fine.
I also like the setting, the way they were sitting.
Absolutely.
So it was not face to face, rather it was at 90 or 120 degree angle.
That's right.
Which is not a confrontational pose, but it is alignment pose, in a way.
Yes, and not an official pose also, in which you have the table in the middle, and you have the client on one side and the therapist on the other side. So this is more like a conversational style, so the person is more comfortable also.
Also notice, sorry.
Hanji, please go on.
You know, when he started off, he had his arms crossed. You see him now. He's got his arms by his side. He's relaxed. He feels comfortable and confident about their confidentiality.
Wonderful.
Because initially he said that I prefer to work on my own and sort out my own problems. But now he's like so comfortable there.
Absolutely wonderful. I was wondering if somebody would notice that, because he was sitting initially, his arms were across his chest, and now he's sitting relaxed, absolutely. And I was wondering if somebody would notice that, the change in his body posture. Excellent, wonderful, great. So I think then we wind up for today, and any questions, then I'll stop presenting, and you can ask whatever questions or clarifications or anything else that right. So any questions, clarifications, observations, anything that you would like to share from your experiences?
I can only say that it was a great session, and the way you related with your own examples, made it so lively, and we could relate with that.
So I'm so glad that please go on, Gargi.
This was I think, as from the end user point of view, like, we're receiving what you're saying. You've made it very articulate and simple and comprehensible, which I think is a great plus when you are sitting in a lecture and, you're just, I would consider myself a novice. So I think, I've enjoyed, we all have, I think, because it's been so simple and total clarity.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you so much. I did 3. Okay. So if there are no other questions, then shall we wind up for today, Serene sir?
Yes, I think that this was a great session. And before we wind up, let us hear from Leher about the next session and the timing, etc.
Sure, sure.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Bhatia. It was really great. And it's nice to see Dr. Batra is also here.
Yes, yes. I also noticed ma'am is here. That's wonderful. And the ma'am is going to be taking our next sessions. So,
hi.
So yeah, please, Leher, go ahead.
Thank you, ma'am. So we'll be having our next session on next Saturday at the same time. And Professor Batra will in fact be taking that session. It will be a 2-hour session. So yes, that, and just a suggestion, maybe if everyone could go through the readings that have been posted before the class, that would just help us make more sense and get more value out of the sessions. Yeah, thank you.
And tomorrow evening is or morning, we are having that no session, and as such, it is more to catch up with the reading and material, right, Leher?
Yes, yes.
Okay, then. Thank you so much, everyone, and have a good day or a good evening. And thank you once again, Dr. Bhatia.
It was wonderful interacting with everyone, and we will meet again. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.